Riot Games Arena! Please welcome to the stage your next competitors. Up first, coming off a finals appearance, proving that they will take what is not given. 100 Thieves! In the top lane, Sniper. In the jungle, River. At mid lane, Quid. AD carry, FBI, and support, Eyla!
Take your seats. Just a question, quick couple questions for Sniper. You guys can take your seats. Not the finish you wanted to split one in the finals. What do you need to improve on the most here to win split two?
To win split two? We just gotta like keep our consistency. I feel like we were pretty consistent in split one, and just not choke in the finals, because I thought like we just all choked. We definitely should have won, but we have a second chance at least, you know. So let's do it. Starts today.
There's also been a lot of lane swap changes between splits. You're going up against Thanatos 1v1. What can we expect?
I mean, he's obviously like a pretty good 1v1 top laner, but I definitely think I'm better. But at the end of the day, let's see who wins today. You know, that's all that matters.
Any solo kills?
I mean, who knows? You know, if I got my champions, then I might bust out a solo kill. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Sniper. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
And their opponents today, they rebuilt the roster to re-establish a legacy. Make some noise for Cloud9! In the top lane, Thanatos. In the jungle, Blaber. At mid lane, Loki. At AD carry, Zven. And support, Vulcan.
Thank you, guys. You can take your seats. I just need Blaber for a second. Another split with Cloud9. Didn't end how you wanted it to end. How do you win here, split two?
We just gotta play better. That's about it.
Anything specific?
No, I mean, there's no more lane swaps, so Thanatos is gonna 1v9. Yeah.
I also don't know if you've seen LTA Fantasy. I picked you on my team, $13, very expensive. I also picked you to play Vi. So is that what you're going to play for the point multiplier?
Yeah, I got you for the points. Don't worry about it.
Okay, he promised. Let's see Vi. Thanks, Blaber.
This is collusion. That's collusion. You can't do that.
Disqualified Jat.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. But either way, welcome everybody as we're getting ready for our next game. Welcome, Riot Games Arena. Thank you for bringing the energy and the noise to those walkouts. Yeah. Round of applause for yourselves right there. But we have a big matchup ahead of us, Azael, because 100 Thieves taking on Cloud9. This is a reminder, the seeding match going into a last splits Brazil portion, and it was 100 Thieves that actually took that tiebreaker match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think all of our top four is actually very, very competitive. You know, you were talking about the power rankings, how you had 100 Thieves first. A lot of people have them fourth, myself included, but I don't actually feel like there's a big gap between any of those teams. So to me, I wouldn't really be surprised if any of the top four do actually walk away with the title this season. And I'm hoping that that remains consistent throughout Split 2, because if we have four competitive teams here, it's going to mean a really exciting playoffs, and it's going to mean, you know, more growth of the skill of the region.
And we also have joining us on the caster desk to defend his collusion with Blaber on stage just moments ago. Jat, what was that?
Yeah, I mean, I read all the rules. There's no rule against collusion.
There's no
I
rule
figured
against
I'd take a
collusions.
chance.
I'm not sure if your mic was catching that for everybody at home, but no rules against collusions according to Jat. We'll see. But either way, the matchup's going to be exciting. Again, I had 100 Thieves as first, but Azael, I do agree with your statement that you really could be any of the top four teams. It really feels like we have a top half heavy league and then a bottom half heavy league.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm rooting for 100 Thieves. I'm putting my bet on them. But C9 is a terrifying opponent to go up against.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Sniper obviously was confident in his interview with Jat. But that being said, I feel like he was kind of the weak point for 100 Thieves in Split 1. I feel like he took a little bit of a step back from where he was last year. The rest of the team, though, looking really, really strong. Can't talk enough about how good this bot lane was for 100 Thieves in Split 1. Eyla really stepped up, played incredible, but the addition of FBI gave them a true second carry threat, which is what to me elevates them from, you know, someone who maybe is an outside shot to a true title contender.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I was discussing with the teams on pros who was going to be the top four, it was no longer C9, TL, FlyQuest, and then maybe 100 Thieves. It was actually a true top four with the four teams, as long as you guys can hear me.
I believe we were able to catch you there.
I think everyone but us can hear you. So everyone else can hear you.
Okay, we're solving the issues. There we go. But we're hopping into draft here, so while we're making sure that Jen's audio is going through, I'll catch everybody up on what we see so far. C9 on the blue side, 100 Thieves on the red, and it's going to be Yone banned away with that Jace, and then the Rumble on the other side. Notably, no Vi ban yet.
We'll have to see what Cloud9 does, but I think more realistically, it's back to power picks in these situations, or it's about teams trying to experiment a little bit for what they're going to need come Fearless, because this is the positioning phase. I think a lot of it is just getting refamiliarized with the stage. Personally, I don't think these teams should really be over-prioritizing, picking their one tricks right away. I think actually they should be trying to build some confidence with champion depth on stage.
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the different priorities are for these teams, because at the end of the day, when you know there is no lane swaps, obviously, people talk a lot about what that means for top lane, but it can also mean a tremendous amount for the bot lane 2v2 if you can get these really aggressive bot lanes. Gwen, though, ridiculously strong in this patch. Yes, it has gotten some nerfs, but it's still so powerful because the early game is no longer weak, and it still kind of scales to infinity. The buff on the early uses of the ult slow is actually so powerful for chase down. It's really difficult to deal with this champion. It's tough to bully in lane. And
I also think it's a true flex for Cloud9, which makes it even more of a powerful first pick. It's something Blaber's played in the past on stage, and also something he's been spamming a lot in solo queue.
Answer is going to be Varus here, so range into that Gwen. Notably, can make herself immune to a lot of that, depending on the scenario.
True.
I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
And River might not give you the chance here, Jat. It is being hovered right now.
It makes sense that River would lock in the Vi. He is the master of creative gank pathing, so Jarvan and Vi both very good at that, and I think not a controversial statement to say that Vi is the most popular jungler on the patch.
Yeah, it's definitely really popular in pro play. Vi obviously opens up for pairings like Ambessa and Ahri. Those are the two of the most popular ones, the guaranteed setups for the follow-up with the ultimate. And when you see Vi coming through, you know the potential of dive, so considering a safe AD carry like Ezreal does make a lot of sense here for Zven.
And also we know about Quid's playstyle, likes to play aggressive mid laners. I love seeing Quid on things like that Ahri, so I love that it already sets them up for that. Let's see what C9's answer is going to be. Now they want to play with some of their own range, as Ezreal's locked in.
For sure, and I also think with this this no lane swap world we're living in, it is a lot more dangerous to blind pick melee support, so I think we'll see a lot more support counter picks. Makes you a little bit hesitant to lock in something with Ezreal right now, and if that Ryze hover is to be locked in, it would be at least one of the solo lanes. It could be both solo lanes, but nice blind pick there of Ryze.
Yeah, I mean, they need AD in regardless, right? So, somewhere on the top side of the map, they are going to either need an AD jungler or they're going to need, an AD top laner, potentially. So, I am kind of expecting 100 Thieves to take their pick here and then just target some of these AD junglers. I think that is the most likely option, to just try to limit that and try to force C9 to be a little bit AP heavy on that top side.
And right now the hover is the Azir. It's locked in, so it's not going to be this aggressive big combo with that Vi. It's instead going to be the Azir.
I think things like Xin Zhao and Fury's already banned out, potentially like Viego or a Pantheon ban could make a lot of sense from this position, because I am still kind of assuming that it will be Thanatos playing it, even though it is potentially a flex.
I think if they flexed it to jungle, Thanatos still has his bread and butter with Renekton and Gnar, would be okay. They'd be a little bit low range and low on CC if they go that way, but at least they'd be on powerful champions. And it makes sense for banning the jungle.
Yeah, it could come down to support big then, because they're going to want some way to engage fights. They don't really have that right now.
Yeah, and I mean, that can come from support, obviously, but when you are playing Ryze, you have this point-and-click CC. You want to have some sort of powerful jungle pairing that can really work well with you to try to capitalize on that. I'm also going to be interested to see what that final ban is. I am expecting it to just be like a Viego or a Pantheon ban, given what we have seen, and it is just going to be targeting some of these difficult matchups for the Gwen on the top side, banning out the Jax, and could even look towards a double ban on top side.
It's tough though, because I don't think you can fully ban out all of the jungle options. You already mentioned the Pantheon. J4 is up there too. They only have one ban left to lock in here. So I think either way, C9, they could get a very powerful AD jungle, and it's Kindred actually that's banned.
Yeah, still banning out the big AD champions. Sejuani could also be a tank pick. There's, again, lots of flexibility for what C9 has left here, and the 4 pick is going to be pretty interesting because it's going to be something that they have to commit to as that Gwen flex is being held. So most likely they have to blind pick support here, but it's tricky though, because giving support counterpick to Zven Vulcan can still be very powerful.
Yeah, the Kindred ban is interesting because no one is playing that, globally, but obviously it is a Blaber pocket pick. That is something that he has had a lot of success with over the years here. So as you say, do you answer top right now and kind of commit to that, or do you commit to getting support counterpick? I think they're going to assume that it is Gwen top and probably go top here on 4, and then try to guarantee a winning bot lane on 5. Don't think we're getting it. Don't get baited.
Yeah, so this is Sniper's
We'll see, though.
favorite champion. And let's go! We get Sniper Riven.
Oh, I wonder how spicy we're going to get, because we're seeing a lot of combat sums these days in solo queue and Ignite TP and things like that. So it could get really, really spicy if they want to kind of go at it up on that top side. Also, if Gwen is playing Ignite TP, which is pretty common, you can be pretty vulnerable to some of these ganks. Not having that additional movement obviously was detrimental to Impact earlier, as he got ganked a number of times.
That is so awesome that he's willing to throw down. But this is also the situation where you would want to flex something. If he's, quote, blind picking Riven top, Thanatos should have something to counter it. But if you're playing Riven versus Gwen, I love it with a champion like Gwen that Thanatos has picked more recently.
Ooh.
Lee Sin jungle, Gwen top. And that is a high execution team comp there for C9.
Yeah, this is pretty spicy. I mean, they do have really good engage. Alistar to be able to set it up. Lee Sin can kind of act as that secondary engage. They can play through side lanes really, really well. I like the 1-3-1 a ton for what Cloud9 has. Renata, though, as that final pick, so good at these hard engage style of comps.
And just your point, Jet, when you have that counter pick and support, it's the Renata to punish the Alistar.
It's going to be very difficult to play early on for C9.
Yeah, it's really hard. As Alistar, Ezreal in this lane, you're going to be getting pushed in. Alistar can't really go aggressive without committing something like a flash, because if you're just going for headbutt pulverize, we're expecting Eyla to get handshake on every one of those to deny that, and then you're going to take so much damage on the way out. But I do think Cloud9 definitely has a lot of power through side lanes with Ryze and Gwen. You can move around the map. You can really attack 100 Thieves in transition.
And one of the things I was most impressed with C9 last split was their ability to team fight and group as 5. This is a very strong comp for that, as well as playing to the side lanes, because you have that big Alistar engage. You have that Lee Sin to be able to look for fish picks. And I don't think that Ryze is a bad team fighter. If you're in a traditional front to back, you can still just throw out your abilities at the enemy front line.
I mean, Ryze is definitely not a bad team fighter, but it does take a lot of time, right? This is a very heavily scaling pick. You are really low on range, so you have to be positioned well. You have to be able to put pressure on champions like the Varus and the Azir, because if you're just kind of slowly walking in, you're going to get poked down, and it's going to be difficult. But once Ryze gets a couple items, gets the tier stack, gets the Roa stack, you do become an absolute beast in these team fights.
We're also definitely seeing a lot more Catalyst and Roa champions here, as we saw from Quad.
Yeah, I mean, Roa definitely a lot stronger. Double Ruby Crystal in the Catalyst makes it a lot better for the early lane, a lot better to buy those components. You're getting more mana back as well from the damage that you are taking, so those buffs definitely quite nice. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more Ryze as a result.
But here we go, everybody. The rematch from last split, the seeding match between 100 Thieves and C9. One of the finalists versus one of the favorites. And we're in for opening week.
And already, my eyes immediately jump to top lane to see what summoner spells they end up taking. Thanatos picks Exhaust Flash on Gwen and Ignite Flash for Sniper.
I actually think this really does make a lot of sense. When we're seeing on this patch, there's such spicy top lanes. People are going double combat sums. It has such an advantage. And when you are playing against Riven, it's actually way more beneficial taking the exhaust in a matchup like this, because you're higher consistent damage. And Riven is so dependent upon that upfront burst. If you're able to actually time that exhaust well during the ultimate, especially during that R2 when he's throwing out that wind slash, you are going to cut so much of that damage down.
And also for C9, Blaber now getting spotted on his Raptors. Normally he is one of the CEOs of Full Clear. He's really big about getting level 4 before doing something. But when you have no TP top laners, there is the chance of an earlier gank. Getting that quick bit of information for 100 Thieves' side, seeing Blaber here on Raptors would be pretty big.
I mean, it's really interesting, right? Because River's starting topside. He's going to clear down towards bot. The other option is he goes for something risky, like a 3-camp gank right up on topside. But you don't see a lot of those in pro play. And if you go for that and it's avoided, you're going to lose a lot on that bottom side, because we can expect Blaber to be taking these camps away. And we're just going to have to see how this early laning phase goes, because double combat sums, you don't have TP to bail you out of bad trades. You have to have confidence and really know the matchup well. well. Any mistakes are so amplified in these kind of situations.
Exactly. River's early game decision is going to be very important to see how safe is Sniper in this top lane. We heard him saying, you know, maybe he can find the solo kill. He thinks he's a better laner than Thanatos. Well, sometimes having that jungle in your back pocket is the difference.
I mean, at the very least, he knows Blaber started on the bot side of the jungle. Blaber actually did 3 camps into recall before running up top side, so it's going to be a little bit slower. Should still give him a window to gank if this wave doesn't bounce completely back towards Sniper.
Yeah, and he got the early longsword recall. People kind of started doing this a little bit last split, where it became a bit more popular. And if you are going to get into some of these early skirmishes, if someone does a 6 clamp clear and you actually reset and get that longsword, can make the difference in some of these early fights here. Sniper with the early push, but Thanatos did a good job of kind of holding the range minions out of that tower range. So it's kind of stalled in this neutral place, but Sniper knows it's going to push back towards him. It's not really an issue right now, but Thanatos just going to slow stack the wave and use this to dissuade trades, because now you can't really trade into this as Sniper because of all the additional range minions. You'll just take so much damage, and with him knowing River's down on bot side, he basically has to slow play this and just collect the wave out of his tower before he can really do anything else.
And the biggest thing here is that his jungler is pathing away from him, so he plays it smart, wants to keep this undefeated career record on Riven.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's actually insane. 6-0 on the Riven. This is what he is known for, this pick. And it's obviously a very situational pick. He can't always bust it out, but it is so exciting to see people bring out these pocket picks when they find the opportunity and really try to shine on it.
And we've been so focused on the top lane. Bot lane going poorly, but not a disaster as of yet. Only an 8 CS advantage as that wave crashes. And Blaber just doing a little bit of a cross towards his own Raptors as they'll be respawning soon.
And that's kind of what I expect. You can also see, though, the sustain is still there for FBI. He still has his potion. He still just popped that, and now he has a biscuit available. Zven obviously is going to be playing teleport, so FBI and Eyla have to have the push to be able to get a preferential reset. If they ever weren't pushing, it would be a disaster given that matchup. It's also an exhaust on Alistar, so they are playing double exhaust here, which is going to make it very tough for the Riven to ever really have one of those pop-off moments in a team fight.
Also TP on Ezreal if he gets too poked out in lane. So they're definitely in it for the full defense moment and a quick swap out of those tough lanes, actually, now that the lane swap detection is deteriorated on the top turret.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes. We've seen this happen before, so now we have the delayed swap. Was Zven top lane, Vulcan answering as well.
Look how defensive Thanatos is actually going with his buy. Double cloth armor on the first base here, so you know, maybe even just working in towards the Seekers, or we'll just sit on that for some time. But clearly, you know, is very worried about this Vi-Riven combo that is going to have so much setup, so much burst, especially once they do hit 6. Of course, you know, you can use your Shroud to kind of avoid some of those engages, but it's still going to be tough. And he realizes, you know what? My job in this matchup is to farm, to get experience, and to outscale the Riven. I don't have to actually play for the early game and for a faster one-item power spike.
And I think it puts Blaber's Lee Sin in a bit of a strange position, too, because you know his duo lane, Ezreal, Alistar, is full defense, going to be losing that matchup. Now his top laner is just going with a very defensive build. So Lee Sin doesn't scale, but I think because Ezreal and Gwen do, he's kind of just there as a threat to not play too crazy, but for the most part, there's not opportunities for places he can gank.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's potential opportunities they could look, you know, maybe playing around with the Ryze. If they can move to a side lane, if you get pushed, you know, go with a Realm War play, overload a side lane. But in general, I do think Blaber's job is more just matching where River is and looking for counter ganks, allowing them to scale. I think Cloud9 is going to have supreme confidence in what their late game is going to be in a situation like this, where they're playing double exhaust against a Riven. And it's going to be very, very difficult, I think, for Sniper to find a good moment in a team fight, where Riven is so reliant on finding that one moment where you can flash in and one-shot someone. And Exhaust often just says no. You don't actually get to play that style.
And I would like to think of junglers as, does the team play to this jungle in the composition, or does the jungler play to the team? I think this is the latter here, as now they're starting up the grubs. We have neutral objectives. River's in the area, so it's not going to be a trade for the dragon. Instead, he's just going to be hanging out, and that's 2 grubs down. Blaber's happy with that.
Yeah, they're going to take that because they've lost push in both of their lanes. They'd rather their duo lane and solo lane can go back to get experience. I think that's considered a win for Cloud9. The fact that they had the time to move, don't even end up losing that cannon wave as Vulcan's able to share it under the turret. And still, it's I think less about 2 of 3 grubs. It's just denying that that grub beat. But the fact they got 2 is great. Fight.
Oh, now we're finding a pick here onto Loki, potentially. Out of position, flashes away. Out of damage range. Quid cannot follow. Sniper wants some more, though, right now. He's still committed on the Blaber. He's got the damage. First blood. Broken wings, breaking knees as Loki tries to go back in. Flash from River. That's 2 kills to 100 Thieves.
And that's what you get with Riven experience. so many people thought that play was dead. Even Blaber ended up dying with flash up. Sniper just had his ult on. He had the extra stats, and he just completely murders Blaber there.
I mean, that was fantastic from Sniper. He gets Prio on bot side. He roams up. He interrupts the Realm Warp there from Loki, and then the flash was forced, but they're able to actually chase him down and get 2 kills in that spot. That is such good news for 100 Thieves, and didn't even have to use the flash on the Riven to do it. Again, he had push on bot side. You can see Thanatos is collecting the wave with the Q3 there, interrupts that Realm Warp, and then Loki has just got to run. The ult doesn't finish him off, but it's okay, because even with Blaber disengaging the Azir, Sniper knows he can continue chasing Viper. The Riven, the Vi is coming in, and Riven can just kind of chase him down and finish him off.
Yeah, maybe Blaber didn't flash because he could have just flash followed and gotten the kill anyway, and then River still sneaking that kill with the QR. What an insane double kill there by 100 Thieves.
Coach Golden Glue's very happy about that one as well. That's 2 kills on our way to 3 for that feat of warfare.
Yeah, and he managed to find a fight with none of the exhausts in it, which is very nice for the Riven as well. You can see Bramble is the first completed item there for Thanatos. So he grabs the Bramble, and now he's going to be working into the first AP item with Phoenix Codex.
But we actually just got word that we have some pregame comms from Sniper, so let's take a listen.
Okay. I mean, if he's that confident, then I'm going to destroy him. Yeah.
Ooh, look at that hand.
The slow-mo, I'm going to destroy him.
That's like some cartoon villain shit right there. He's like, ha ha ha, he's falling into my trap.
I mean, listen, this game state at this point for 100 Thieves is incredibly favorable because we already know that the Riven has the prio on the Gwen and the Varus Renata has perma prio over the blind pick Alistar lane. Then they're able to get a kill and flash mid lane, so Quid gets to move around. They're going to be first to objectives, first to chip down turrets. It's really about how much of a lead can they accumulate with this current game state.
And I will say, in Thanatos' defense, he didn't die in that 1v1, so I don't think that this one's on him right now. But currently, it is a slight jungle lead for Blaber in just terms of clear speed. He's going to be going towards those next spawn of Raptors, but the bot side, like he said, with that support counter pick has gotten a sizable CS lead itself.
Yeah, I mean, they're always going to kind of have the push, but still, you know, this lead obviously very good for 100 Thieves, but not that big of a deal. It's just 800 gold at this point. You know, you got the early 2 grubs, so there's no worry about 6 grubs or anything like that. It's just 1 dragon going over to 100 Thieves, so it's going to be on them. Continue to push the pace. And it's also not like they can't win in late game. It's just going to be, I think, harder specifically for the Riven to really find angles. So there'll be more pressure on FBI and Quid to maybe do some of that heavy lifting in that late game. And we'll see how this matchup goes between Thanatos and Sniper. As Thanatos with the exhaust, I think that also scales a lot better in the 1v1. So, you know, when you are on 1 items, 2 items, you know, can the Riven realistically win an all-in against this exhaust Gwen? I'm kind of not thinking you will be able to, but we'll see if Riven, you know, Sniper's Riven can prove me wrong.
Yeah, I'm skeptical as well if they're on somewhat equivalent items. Because at the moment, Bramble Vest versus what I just saw as an Eclipse being completed for Sniper, not
you don't want to fight for a while.
Yeah, and that's it. C9 is really going to have to pick their moments here. Vulcan in particular, as he's so good at finding angles on Alistar, but because all 3 lanes are kind of losing right now. It's just full defense mode, trying to not fall too far behind.
I mean, you have double tier, right? You know, mid lane and bot lane don't want to fight. You want to stack Roa, you want to stack tiers. You know, top lane is going to defensive build. You know, realistically, you're not trying to fight probably until
they scale
at least 1 item, if not 2 completed items. You know, once the Roa and everything is fully stacked. So C9 is just going to try to sneak at least 1 grub, and then that denies 4. And if you can get 2, that's great. But I think you just take 1 and you leave if there's going to be any chance of a fight.
I don't think you want to fight this one, but instead they're engaging themselves. They caught River with nobody around him. Quid has the Emperor's Divide. Now they're re-engaged from 100 Thieves. They got ultimates on days. Vulcan's going to stay alive for quite a while here. Does not give the reset for River for the bailout. And now we're re-engaged onto FBI, who got caught away from his front line. Zven punishes him for it. And C9 win the fight.
Yeah, C9 aren't able to take the fight. It's pretty close. We'll see if they can find Ayla.
He's flashing. One more auto. Oh, the shield and a sidestep. Ayla's out of there.
He hits him with this Venom mode as well, the question mark frog there. Close fight. Cloud9 going to be pretty happy with how things did work out. They did get 1 grub, 2 grubs still remaining, so we'll see who actually gets back to that. Meanwhile, there was an all-in that happened between Thanatos and Sniper. Both the flash and exhaust was used, and the flash ignite on the other side traded, and it was kind of just a disengaged fight there. As you know, as soon as that exhaust goes down, I think Sniper kind of had to pull back and realize he had to wait that out. And we can watch this fight one more time. This is just River. Yes, 100 Thieves are stronger in this point, but he's so sectioned off from the team that Vulcan just takes his opportunity to go in and get that massive chunk on him. But the bailout really complicates things.
And that's really about Cloud9 trying to find the right window. It looked like it was just going to be a 1-for-1, but then FBI also ends up getting caught as the cooldowns come back for Vulcan, and at that point, they can just fully chase down the rest of 100 Thieves. And from what was kind of a losing map state, because they just found the right angle where they had the numbers advantage. They might get more here too. Ayla in the flash.
Back to live. Ayla's going to go down. Looked like he was just trying to get vision down in the river.
And they even give it to Zven. Zven tagged him with the True Shot Barrage there from back at his tier 1 tower mid, so he even gets that kill. So Zven now accelerated. And yeah, 100 Thieves were in the better spot. You know, C9 didn't have the item completions. We're going for scaling, but it's about positioning as well, right?
Yes.
And I think 100 Thieves were just too overconfident in that spot. C9 laid a trap, and they didn't have to commit to the fight, but Vulcan saw the opportunity, and they were able to take advantage of it.
And that's credit to how adaptable the C9 roster is. Okay, Sniper's actually fine right now. The fact that we all saw that they were backing up, but Vulcan sees the opportunity, and then they change their decision in the moment. Not a lot of teams have that quick decision-making, and I'm just impressed with how quickly C9 as a team commit to plays like that.
And just taking stock of the current game state, they have escaped, I think, some of the most difficult parts of this game. They were able to survive the early laning phase. They only lost 1 plate bot before swapping and then lost 1 plate top, and they have 5 of the 6 grubs. Plus, Vulcan is unlocked on the map now that they've got a few picks.
Sniper
no flash.
has no backup around him. Can they lock down the Riven? Very slippery champion, but I don't think he's going anywhere. Pick in the side lane, Blaber with the kill.
I'm pretty surprised Blaber actually took that kill. I feel like you definitely want to give it to Thanatos when it's, you know, this really spicy top lane, but 100 Thieves trying to get something back in mid. They'll at least be able to take 2 plates here, but Loki is closing in. Thanatos likely to be able to farm at least 1 plate down on bot side too. Remember, no TP to be able to answer, so it does mean unless Quid is heading down there, you're giving over even more gold. So the plates are going to be equalized. They're +1 kill, and they're first on the dragon.
Ooh, making a play into the mid lane instead. Zven, chain CC, well executed Thieves.
Nice pick. I think Zven was trying to get a little bit of information to make sure that Blaber wasn't getting collapsed on,
They want first tower.
Drake. And they can get the first tower from this.
I'm pretty sure that's feats of strength right there, because they got the first 3 kills first, plus the turret. All right, not too bad for the Thieves.
Yeah, nice play by them, getting something back. They find a force here. The Q flash doesn't connect from River, but he's able to follow with the ultimate. And Zven didn't have flash from that previous fight. He used it actually chasing down Ayla, so they track the summoners. They're able to get the punish. The shutdown goes to FBI. So 100 Thieves, you know, battling back here. And have opened up, you know, 1.4K gold lead. Has slowly extended over the last, you know, 8 minutes or so.
I mean, I'm thinking we're in for a very bloody game. It was looking for a moment there like Cloud9 had survived and they were taking that Drake, but we know 100 Thieves is just so good at finding fights and finding plays, as we see when they picked off Zven and took the mid turret. So look for them to continue to try and make big plays like that with River and Ayla probably trying to go for them.
And I'm so excited now to see how Sniper is going to be able to pilot this Riven throughout the rest of the game. Obviously, you know, he is a Riven player. You know, he might be able to find those moments.
Thumbs up.
Hex Flash comes out there. Was that the real Flash and he was trying to Hex Flash? Did the Hex Flash just expire and he real Flash?
I think it might have
I think that's
been
what happened. I think he was trying to Hex Flash from the brush and the cooldown came up and he flashed out of the brush.
Hey, we've all been there, Vulcan. If that is what happened, I've done it too.
Maybe we can get a replay and check that, but that's what it actually kind of looked like to me. But anyway, Thanatos is in a really good spot right now. He has actually finished his 1 item. Obviously, Eclipse is really cheap items. You get that fast power spike, but now you're on Bramble. You have the full 1 item. So here's where it's going to get a lot harder, I think, for Sniper to fight for Prio. And you can see down in bot lane, Sniper obviously knows his team is topside. He's having to play defensive. He's having to sit back a little bit more. But they do still have this really good line of vision throughout that river to at least cover Sniper. And if you're not seeing anyone on the map, just allow Quid to take the tower topside. Allow that Azir to continue scaling. We haven't talked a lot about him, but Quid is in a great spot. And this guy has been looking like he is in MVP form once again this year.
And you'll always take gold on Quid if it's giving gold to someone else on the enemy team as an exchange because of how good he has been in team fights. So Sniper does the correct mature play there, just giving up the turret as bad as it feels to give it up to his lane opponent in the Gwen, because he would have just completely died under the turret, and his team gets so much more for him giving that up. Not only did they get the top turret for Azir, it looks like they're going to be able to get the Rift Herald uncontested as well.
I gave props for C9's adaptability in the play. I'll give props to 100 Thieves as well for adaptability in game plan. They identified Sniper as not getting super far ahead despite getting that early game gold lead. It's stabilized, so yes, play to their scaling, because Azir really is the scaling champion on their team. If we're talking about how they're going to adapt and play more of a mid-late game-centric team fight here, the range of an Azir will be very valuable.
Yeah, Azir's really big. I'd also say Renata, to me, is up there as one of those really powerful late-game supports. You know, if you can hit a really good hostile takeover, it can be so devastating in these team fights, and the bailout has a tremendous amount of value for some of these aggressive picks, like the Vi or the Riven. We can see another tower going to be going down here. But again, Cloud9 just looking to trade. And as long as they're not trading way down, they're still feeling pretty good. Cole about to cash out here. One more CS for Zven. You can see the tier is, almost fully stacked in mid and bot. And 5 stacks on the Roa as well. So Cloud9 scaling it up. And we'll see if he can actually Tokyo drift this the whole way. But mid lane tower is already gone. So.
Yeah, he's done. He's done. That was still nice turning, though.
Yeah,
it was smash into the first wall.
Some drift right there. I don't think, by the way, this is a side tangent, I've never pulled it off. I don't know how to do it. The Herald, I avoid it whenever I have to click on that thing. I don't think I've ever gone the correct direction. I know they made it easier. So
you need to make sure you're clicking the direction you want to go, otherwise sometimes you could stop and start in literally the opposite direction that you want.
Every time?
Yeah, so you got to kind of spam the direction you want to go.
Okay, all right, you'll have to coach me on that later. But either way, that was some good driving right there. Right now, it's still pretty dead even game, all things considered. So we're going to be looking at the timers here. It's about a minute for the Dragon, and we will not have the Otacon spawning exactly with it. So that could be where action happens next here. This is where the teams need to start thinking, how do we reset? How do we get our vision priority if we want to go for that drag?
Yeah, and we've had a small period of low activity as well. You can see all flashes up except for Vulcan's because he wasted it and saw his Hex Flash. But pretty much any combat summoner these teams need is going to be ready to go with that 45 seconds on the Drake timer. Both bot lane turrets down as well, so pretty easy access around the Drake pit. And I hope, knowing it's a 100 Thieves game, that we're going to see some action in that area.
And right now, they have actually a later reset. FBI is backing at this point. Dragon spawning in 30 seconds. So that means they're going to have to kind of retake the river priority, because for this instance in time, C9 do have the ability to get in there and try and drop their wards down.
And I mean, it's an interesting point you mentioned, Jeff, because 100 Thieves was the bloodiest team in the world in Split 1, right? And this has been a very kind of slow, controlled, methodical game. You know, some of that is obviously them playing a bit more reserved, but also Cloud9 is trying to play very risk-averse and not necessarily taking fights. But it's definitely not looked like 100 Thieves game till maybe now.
Okay. That's actually kicked down from Blaber. Quid flashing in, gets flash out from C9's jungler. But now they're onto the mid laner. River picks up the kill. 100 Thieves find their pick.
And that's the second play where 100 Thieves just keeps going. It looks like the first engage isn't going to give them a kill, but then they just keep going. That play wasn't even started to Loki, but because Loki was around as they all dove in for Blaber, they just took the guy that was next.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give so much credit there to Quid, because River Q flashes in, then ults, and just gets disengaged by the ulti. If that was the end of the play, that's super beneficial for Cloud9 because you're trading, ult for ult and your up one flash. But then Quid flies in, gets the flash off Blaber. They turn on Loki, they get his flash, and they get the kill. So it becomes that plus the dragon there for 100 Thieves. The gold lead not really building, but at least they are slowly working towards potential soul win condition.
And this is how tight this matchup is. That's basically the inverse of what happened around the Grubs, where Vulcan finds the angle to go in for the big play. This time, River and Quid find the angle to go in for the big play. It nets them the Dragon. Now they have 2 in their pocket. Yes, they were not getting those early Grubs, but Dragon stacking a very strong win condition, and it will be... Is that Infernal Soul? Yes, that is Infernal Soul.
Yep, a lot of damage going to be thrown around. Big power spike for Azir as well, with the Nashers being completed. I still think it's going to be a very bloody game. As low as it's been through the first 20 minutes, knowing that this slight gold lead, I think, is a little bit canceled with Sniper maybe not being as strong as the Gwen and later game team fights on this teleportless Riven. But, I mean, I've generally been impressed with the way 100 Thieves has played this game, especially Sniper playing weak side this entire time. It's just a matter of how, like, what windows can Cloud9 actually find to come back in this game, and what is Vulcan able to do?
And I think they're getting very close to some of those windows, right? You can see the tier items fully stacked here. Roa's about to take over to that 10. And then once the Nashers is completed for Thanatos, those 2-item power spikes, I think, for C9 is where they're going to have a lot more confidence taking fights, and maybe we're going to see them flip a switch and get a little bit more aggressive. And we'll have to see how 100 Thieves can deal with that, but still, Quid is the one with the biggest gold lead on his team. That's where you would want that gold to be. He's on that early 2 items on the Azir. This guy just has been such a monster for the team. You know, whether he's playing early aggressive stuff, scaling stuff, he always seems to be able to find those plays and make things happen for the team.
And yes, Quid is the most important for the win condition of 100 Thieves, but I also got to say pressure on Sniper here to not die in the side lane. But actually, we'll get back to that. Loki getting caught out in his own jungle. The trap is sprung, and it might answer 1 for 1. Shut down for Blaber. C9 answer in kind, and they do get 1.
Oh, Eyla tried to flash heal and get the bailout, but couldn't actually get in range there of River, so cost them a little bit extra, as those are 2 summoners down for him trying to get in range for that bailout. So yes, you know, going mid lane for jungle is a trade up, but with the loss of the summoners for 100 Thieves, I do think it's pretty even, if not favored for Cloud9.
Oh, Sniper actually jumps back in. Vulcan's over the wall. Yeah, you don't want to extend that fight.
And look at Quid, that's where they have to answer right now. It is going to be C9 moving to Otacon, though, trying to force the issue. River's dead here. There's no Hex Gates or anything to get him out on that map that fast, and Loki has teleport, so he can always join the play.
Yeah.
And it is 100 Thieves moving over, though. It looks like they still want to contest.
It's directly on a ward, so Quid could teleport there, and River ends up trying to make a big move.
He's TPing top. Sniper's going to get in there, but it's too late. I mean, this Otacon is going to go down. Maybe they can win the fight after the fact. Loki teleports in. Quid gets a little damage. As now Eyla, hostile takeover onto everybody. We are going to get a fight. Sniper jumps in, buying time for River. Quid in the 1v1 against Loki, and he's winning it. Sniper finds so much space. There's the exhaust. That's 1 down. Thanatos jumps back in as FBI and Blaber are fighting on their own down there. Blaber almost outplays him. We got a fight on 2 fronts. FBI's all alone as he's going to get chased away. As now they re-engage. Zven trying to buffer the ultimate and will fall. Couple GAs popped as now Thanatos continues the dive, flashing in, shut down.
It is a couple kills, but they also got 3 of the withdraws there, so they removed a lot of those Jays. We'll see if Gwen can get out.
I mean,
Sniper's going to find him, pop over the wall.
Yeah. I mean, wings from Sniper. He's going to try and follow.
Gold is still positive for Cloud9 through all of this, so it ends up being worth it. Very high amounts of action. Zven doesn't have his withdrawal anymore, and he's actually already back on the map. So still a win for Cloud9, but this game just got really interesting.
And an interesting fight as well. Once we get a replay, you'll see it splits into 2 different fronts, and FBI's never really there with the front line in front of him.
Yeah, and part of the problem was Thanatos was chunked down so low from the damage he took from the Otacon, as well as a little bit of chip damage from Quid. And then, as you say, the fight really becomes split. Vulcan couldn't find a moment to go in here as he pops his ult early, gets hit by the ult. The Chains of Corruption's there from FBI locking him down. So Vulcan can't really find anything, and 100 Thieves on the top side are able to take out Loki very, very early.
Yeah, Quid, I was watching the top side. Solo killed Loki, so to speak, even if it was just the withdraw. So Loki's having a difficult time getting involved in this game with the range and engage that 100 Thieves has. And River does a very nice job closing out on Zven's Ezreal, even though he timed his E quite well. It's a lot of gold for Thanatos there. 483 on that shutdown kill of Varus.
Now 900 up over the lane opponent.
And this is an important dragon fight. I mean, Cloud9 definitely want to stop the stack towards Seoul. 100 Thieves already on 2 dragons here. This one's spawning. Both teams have a really strong point.
And no stopwatch for Quid, so it's a little bit of dead gold in his inventory. He's not that much stronger than Loki at the moment, so Cloud9 definitely in a good position to start this Drake.
And this is tough for 100 Thieves, because they're the comp that doesn't scale quite as well.
No exhaust ready as well for Cloud9, so Sniper might have an opportunity.
Watch for the engage. We're going in straight on the Blaber. If we can pop him, that is Dragon, but instead it's answering back. Blaber gets the kill instead, as Loki's still alive. Sniper trying to get on top of him, but he's got Vulcan playing goalie. And C9 now fighting their way out of the pit. Looking at Sniper, big damage. There's the bailout. They got to get a kill. They got it! Sniper lives! 1-for-1 trade so far. Junglers go down, but Cloud9, they got the objective.
Wow, what an insane sequence. River probably went in a little bit early, ends up getting himself executed, and Cloud9 walk away with the Drake. But then people just kind of dance around Sniper before the bailout ends up saving him and making it even.
Yeah, River had to use his flash right on the entrance, and no one can really follow up as he's going in. Sniper decides to actually target Loki here, but Loki relatively tanky on the Ryze.
Yeah.
Even with the hostile takeover hitting them, this is not primary targets because neither of them are ADs. You're not hitting the Ezreal or anything like that. So the hostile takeover got very low value from Eyla, and Sniper just couldn't quite finish off Loki. Cloud9 did a good job kind of just bouncing back and forth with Zen zoning them. And as they force that bailout, they're able to lock down Blaber and get the kill to make sure Sniper stays up.
Definitely some greed there by Blaber. Flash autoing for what he thought was going to be the killing blow. Ends up just giving the kill over. And look at this. 1,000 gold difference, 2 Drakes to 2 on both sides, with the feats being on the side of 100 Thieves.
But keep in mind, we keep saying the danger of the scaling from the Ryze, the Gwen, the Ezreal, and now they bought themselves at least another Drake. Like, C9 could give a Drake over and just let themselves get to a 3 or 4 item power spike before really going for another push.
I will say, though, Loki hasn't been
where'd they
finding
push
side
here?
lane plays. Maybe now finds
Sniper.
Yeah, Thanatos finding the side lane play onto Sniper. He's played a very calm game up to this point, but eventually he will get picked off. The rest of the team's not able to save him.
Yeah, that's really big. It's a 45-second respawn timer with no TP. We'll see what more Cloud9 can push for, but that's the kind of play Loki needs to look for.
Yeah.
He needs to get Realm Warps to the side lane because in the straight-up 5v5, he's just getting outranged and he's getting poked down before he really has a lot of
Look at
value.
River.
River's behind
River,
him.
he found Zven! They caught the AD carry and he's out of there! 100 Thieves with an insane pick right at the Baron, and now Quid absorbing the ultimate from the Lee Sin, and he finds his own engage. They're getting on the Blaber. They take him down. 100 Thieves are doing it 4v5. Are you kidding me?
What a turn by 100 Thieves. You think with their Riven down, they would play passively, but that's exactly when they decide to go in.
Man, River found such a sick angle there, and Quid also timed the Zhonya's to immune the Lee Sin ultimate there. And then as he comes out, he's able to flash on the other side, so Blaber just kind of kicks him away to safety. Both of the mid-jungle, they're playing insane from that spot. Zven just gets 100-0'd, and like you said, they turn a losing spot into a heavily winning one. Now they're up 3K, now they have the Baron, and now 100 Thieves are in control.
The best thing about 100 Thieves when they're at their peak is their team fighting. The start of this looked like it was going to be, this is how Cloud9 broke open the game. First they pick off Sniper, then they control vision around Baron, get another pick, and win. So that's what C9 is doing here. They're looking for another pick, but River, with the sweeper and the controller, knows he's not on vision and finds the perfect engage onto Zven.
I mean, that was just sick. And then watch this. You could think, hey, maybe Blaber has an opportunity to actually get some follow-up here, turn this around. Really nice Q in on a River. Ward hop gets the kick off onto Quid, but Quid perfectly times the Zhonya's, then flashes out. So Blaber's just sitting there mashing R to try to kick him back into the team. He gets kicked out to safety, gets that kill. It's beautiful team fighting there from 100 Thieves. Really showing up in a big moment.
Good job, Snipe. Good job.
Sniper started
Good job,
off.
Snipe. You
Great
put them in the
engage from
position.
Sniper Riven there.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
And look at this is kind of expectations versus reality. 400 Thieves, especially last year coming into the spring, average power ranking was 6th. You know, average power ranking was 5th. You know, in summer, and they were able to really outperform what people expected. You can see they finished 2nd in spring. They made Worlds in summer. This is a team that has been growing a lot faster than I think people expected. And to me, you know, they're no longer, you know, outside that conversation because of how much better this bot lane is looking, you know, this year than last.
And a big part of that being when they are performing at the highest level, it's Quid, it's River. These are the two that I always love to hype up from 100 Thieves. Quid has had an MVP performance. Jet, you even hinted at it. He might be back in that form. And if he can, that can deliver a win to 100 Thieves here. This is a substantial gold lead, finally.
Yeah, 4,300 gold, 4,200 gold, but 3.3K is just in the mid lane.
Yeah.
So Loki's really struggled to find plays on the Ryze here. He's no match for that Azir in team fights or in side lanes at this point. I mean, when Quid gets the death cap, it's going to be even more extreme. But at the moment, it is kind of Quid running these team fights.
Yeah, he really is. And what I want to see more of from Loki is kind of overloading a side lane, right? You know, you push out mid, you move to a side, you threaten that side, get priority for your team there. If someone's overextending, like Sniper or Quid or whoever, then you try to make an odd number play. You try to play with Thanatos and Loki, or even, you know, Realm Warping and Vulcan as well, and trying to get picks. Those are the kind of plays where Ryze really succeeds in the later stages of the game. It can be very difficult versus a Varus and Azir to just walk straight at them. And I did think Cloud9 was going to be playing more heavily in that 1-3-1 style, but they haven't really been able to find very much in that kind of formation.
And even when they picked off Sniper, it was the whole team collapsing onto him. It wasn't in a 1-3-1 style. But, like I'd said before, they have time. Because they got that 4th Drake, they give this one for free. 100 Thieves pick it up and are now on Soul Point. But we see Thanatos picks up the Rabadon's Death Cap. We see that Loki is getting close to a 3rd item. So I think C9 are playing patient because they know the next one is going to be far more important.
I mean, they've had to play the majority of this game off their back foot, starting with the laning phase, and now again, just kind of hoping that they can get the item power spikes. It's a 3-item Ezreal to a 4-item Varus. It's a nearly death cap Azir to a 2.5-item Loki Ryze. So it's tricky.
On the Loki, just big damage, big poke. I don't think they want to commit under the turret. But yeah, you can see, I mean, that wasn't even a fight, and Loki just doesn't have the range to deal with the Varus the Azir.
I mean, that's even with Locket being used there, as well as the safeguard from Blaber. They're just getting that chunk. You know, if they can see the Cloud9 team walking at him, it's very difficult to actually close that gap. Of course, Ezreal can try to get some poke back himself, but it's going to be pretty difficult. And Eyla just uses the redemption, kind of resets the little bit of poke that Zven has been able to land here, and they just are just going to continue this push.
And now over the wall, Thanatos jumping away from River and Sniper. The turret is the focus. We are sieging it down, and we get it.
Blaber completely chunked out. About 2 Quid pokes takes him to 1/3. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what everyone always says with late game Lee Sin. You always have kick. Just in case. You never know if he's going to get it. But with the way Quid is just styling on him with Zhonya's, and also with the fact that Eyla can bail out anyone he kicks in, you know, maybe he doesn't have the kick.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. But, you know, we've talked a lot about Quid. Obviously, I want to mention FBI as well because, to me, again, this was that massive change for them in Split 1 compared to last year. Really boosted them up into that contender territory because he has been so consistent. He really kind of does everything you would want from an AD carry. He leads the league as far as damage per minute, as far as damage per gold efficiency. He really does not die very much. He's positioning well. He's pumping out damage. He's laning well. He's kind of just been quietly the full package here.
Yeah.
He's not as flashy as maybe some of the other bot laners that we talk a lot about, like Yan and Masu, but he has been fantastic for the team. And it's so important, even in just creating that additional second threat, opens up more opportunity for Quid to get things done too.
And he's going to be max items pretty soon. He's still sitting on that 4.5 items right there.
Ooh, do we re-engage a C9 here? Vulcan looks for it. Hostile takeover will land onto just the cow. He pops the ultimate. Unbreakable will keep him very tanky, but not tanky enough. Exhaust onto Sniper. Vulcan still in trouble, and Quid finds the shuffle! C9 are fighting from a desperate spot here. Down 2 members. 100 Thieves bulldozing over them. Double kill to Sniper's Riven. Can he still live? Jumping away from Zven and Loki. They're going to waddle back to their base, but 100 Thieves are bringing it to C9.
They are a force of nature in these team fights. They can just mow through Cloud9 front to back because they have the Renata if anyone tries to turn around. They're timing the stopwatch from Quid's Azir perfectly, and they might try and end on this push.
I think this is it. It's only 2 members. Yes, they have some wave clear. It's Ezreal, it's Ryze. If they can hit the wave, that can do a lot of damage. River's low as well. They got the wave down pretty much right there, flashing forward, and under the turret, the stasis. 100 Thieves are going to have to try and survive this. They get 1. Loki still alive. Sniper flashes in, gets the stun, still falls. Loki with the shutdown, and 100 Thieves have to realize, nope, we got to cut our losses, get out of there.
That got really risky. I mean, they're going to try to TP. They want to chase. We'll see how much more they can get here. They saw the River was like 1 HP on the map, but Loki guesses wrong on which way he will exit. River very lucky to get out, and then Sniper saw an opportunity to try to end the game, couldn't find it.
Is there an angle for Baron here?
I think that's what they're trying to do. It's a really late reset from River, but they don't actually know when River reset. I think they're just going to flip it because they're in a bad spot, but look at 100 Thieves, they're just going to push down mid potentially.
I mean, Ryze can kill it pretty fast, but they're hoping that they can stop Gwen and Alistar from approaching, so that way Varus could solo push them off Baron. It's a very tricky situation, and River is also approaching. It would be a smite fight if C9 tries to finish this.
It's going to be a smite fight.
Look at Ryze's health.
It can come down to 50-50. One Q could just kill Loki. There it is! FBI finds the snipe! And Quid trying to keep himself alive. Thanatos cannot stick on him.
Still on it.
Sven teleported in. They're still committing to the Baron. River's into the pit. There's no damage onto the Baron. Who gets it? River steals the Baron! 100 Thieves are still in it! C9 thought they had the play. They can't find the objective.
But Cloud9 win the fight. They kill off Quid and they kill off River, so they lose the Baron. But now look at the respawn timers, and it's going to be the Dragon coming up, which Cloud9 will have the extra man for. Blaber barely survives, and he's got to get back out of the map. 100 Thieves are going to try to potentially rush this.
It's Seoul, though, so Sniper's just going to try and do as much damage as possible if they think they can burst it before Blaber gets there.
This is so
lethality
risky.
Varus.
It's too slow. They should not be doing this. You're just going to leash it for him.
I mean, there's the Hex Flash
Chain of
coming
Corruption
in.
will miss, and everyone from 100 Thieves say back away, but can they actually get away? Vulcan's there. If he can find the headbutt, no flash available, and it will just be thanks for the leash.
Okay.
C9 will put themselves on Soul Point.
Oh, this is getting really spicy.
Yes.
It's a 7K lead, but Cloud9 are still alive. If you're a 100 Thieves fan, thank you, River, for the steal here, because if Cloud9 got the Baron there and the kills, this game would be looking very different. As it is, 100 Thieves still have a massive gold lead. This Shroud, though, is so big for Thanatos, keeps him safe. Quid overextending a little bit, and there's this skirmish on the other side where a massive shutdown comes in. That's 1K in the pockets of Thanatos, who already had the death cap, and that Smite steal, very close thing, but River comes out on top, and that is just a game of inches, honestly.
It really is, and also not finishing Blaber. Blaber getting out with about 5% health there, which allows them to push them off this Drake. If you zoom out and say, okay, what are the results of the last 3 minutes of craziness that we saw? It's still 100 Thieves having the advantage in this game. They have the gold lead, they have the Baron buff, and it is 3 Drakes to 3. The second of 2 bangers in a row we've had. Last game was 53 minutes. This one's going at least 6 Drakes, already 37 minutes in. Let's see what they can get done with this Baron. We have River trying to push the mid wave in, even though he's no longer having a Baron buff to buff the minions, and he might still try and engage under the turret with 100 Thieves having Baron.
We'll see if he can loop around.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on Thanatos to try to get something done here as well. You know, he is the only one with the lead, and he's got that 5 items completed, still sitting on the Bramble. But if he can find backline with that death cap completed, he is going to be able to cut through them, no problem. But it's so difficult for him to find any sort of an entrance. You know, they have no angle, and Zven is just getting poked down.
Yeah,
they're going to have to give double inhib.
At least, I mean, Zven completely has to go away. The Varus is just chunking him if he's able to get any arrows onto him.
And we're back.
They're just on the turrets.
We're back to it. Chain of Corruption lands. It's on the Blaber. No one else is going to follow up on the engage. Vulcan will find his own, though. Unbreakable Will. He can take a lot of damage. Thanatos on the side there, and Quid actually shuffles him back in towards the team. Vulcan's down. Thanatos has to find him, but he doesn't. 100 Thieves find the engage. They find the way, and they will yet again slay their rivals in C9. Doubters beware. 100 Thieves are back.
It started slow, but it ended in true 100 Thieves fashions. Non-stop team fighting. Quid gives us a highlight at the end. Fantasy points, 100 Thieves take him down.
And they get Zven. 100 Thieves will take it. GG, 100 Thieves. What a performance from the Thieves. They've been doubted for years. And yet again, what's it gonna take, Azael? When are you gonna start
doubted
believing?
anymore? I don't know what you're talking about. I just finished saying I think they could easily win the title this split, and I think everyone kind of sees them as a real contender, and for a very good reason. They have, I think, easily the best mid laner in the league right now. Their mid jungle is nasty. Their bot lane is looking really good, and we have seen this team grow and grow and grow.
River is just a magician. He continues to find fights where other junglers wouldn't even be looking.
That flank was incredible. But with that being said, we're going to have an interview with Sniper at the fan zone after this.